Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome to Beginner Music Theory video number 8. I hope you're having a wonderful day. In this video, we're going to cover some more stuff about notes on the written page. We're going to go into dots when you see dotted notes, and we're going to talk a little bit about subdivision and what you're going to see, why you're going to see that, and stuff like that. This more super exciting music stuff. So here we are, my handy dandy chart. As usual, it's written in blue today because I left my black marker out and open. Now it's dried out. Anyhow, smart. So what we've got up here is a dotted half note. Don't pay attention to, like, it doesn't matter that it's an A. It doesn't matter at all. But anyhow, dotted half note equals a half note and a quarter note tied. That's a tie, tied together. That means that this thing equals that amount, which means the dotted half note covers 3 beats. 1, 2, 3. Just like that would cover 3 beats. Now, real quick, because we haven't talked about it, that little line underneath, that little smiley face maker, that's called a tie. That means that if you were playing this music, you know, on whatever instrument, that second note that's tied to the first one, you would not articulate it. If it was on a piano, you wouldn't press it. If it was a saxophone, you wouldn't blow into it. You would just hold that out for 3 beats. Okay, now next to it, we've got what's called a double dot. Now, 1 dot means you take the original note plus half of its length, add another half of its length. A double dot means you add a half of the original's length and then you add a half of the new addition's length. So, in a double dotted half note, you would add a quarter note, just like you did with the original dot, and then another half, which would be an eighth note. So this would cover 3.5 beats. And again, the tie means you wouldn't articulate any of this. It would just sound that long. Or you could write it as a double dot and get this same length, okay? Now, you may be wondering, well, why does the double dot exist? Because you could just write it this way. Some of it's for ease. It's a lot easier to write that than to write all this jargon and then put a line and all that, the tie in there. And then sometimes, well, for this example, it all being tied together, you know, if that was 3 separate notes, then you wouldn't articulate or attack the note very hard. You would do what's called a slur through the notes. And there's just stuff like that that kind of make this usage make a little more sense than this, depending on the context and what you're going for. Now, you might read a piece of music someday, right? Well, you might write one too, where you choose to do something like this instead of this. And that's your choice. It doesn't matter. It's not a huge deal. It's just these dots can be very, very useful. Now, same concept below, only in rest form. You know, here's a dotted half rest, which means it equals that length, a half rest plus a quarter rest. So it covers 3 beats, just like what's going on up here. I made them parallel so that you would understand it's the same thing. And then dotted rest, again, you end up with 3.5 beats worth of rest, or a double dotted rest, sorry. So there's that. Now, the next 2 lines down, we're going to talk about the way you divide a note. So let's start here. You've got a quarter note, divides into 2 down to eighth notes. Now we've got this thing. We've not talked about this thing yet. That's called a triplet, which means that 3 notes cover 1 beat instead of 2. So it would go like this. You'd go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's quarter notes. Eighth notes would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. A triplet is going to get counted triplet, 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 triplet. Okay, or any, you know, you can use any 3-syllable word that you enjoy, like blueberry. You go blueberry. It's a little rough. Blueberry, 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 blueberry. It's an option. I've always just done triplet, 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 triplet. or just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, whatever's going to help you get that feeling. But it's just understand that that means that those 3 notes cover one of those. And then over here you've got 16th notes, which means 4 notes are covering the equivalent of a quarter. We've discussed it a little. The 16ths you would count as 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a triplet, 1E and a 2E and a triplet, 1 and 2 and. So that was going kind of back and forth between 16ths, triplets, and 8ths. I threw the 8ths in at the end there just so you could kind of get an idea of how that's going to feel against the beat. Okay, now move down another line. We've got dotted quarter. Now, what we know about dotteds that we just covered is that means it's 1.5 times the length of the original. Dotted quarter means that now it's going to be 1/4 and 1/8 long. Well, we know 1/4 equals 2/8 notes, so technically it's 3/8 notes long, okay? Keep that in mind for what you're about to see next, so over here on the triplet, you've noticed I wrote a 3 above it, and when you're reading music in 4/4 time and there's triplets, you'll see that 3, and that's what that means. But now if you go down here, say the piece of music's in, I don't want to say 6/8. 6/8's a good example for where you would see this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But you wouldn't see this necessarily a whole ton. But what this is telling you is, see how there's a 2 written over it? That means that those 2 notes are going to cover this guy, but this guy is already easily divided down into 3. So it's the opposite of the triplet in a way. You've got a 3 feel going on already. You know, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's what that would feel like. Versus here, you have the exact opposite of 1, 2, 1 and 2 and triplet. It speeds up versus here, that guy is going to slow down. Okay. Now notice here, in this context, that little 3's not above there. Why? Because this is already telling us that that's what we're going to see, like pretty normally, is groups of 3. And then I forgot to write it. Oh shoot. I don't know where my marker is. Okay, so I screwed up. So in this I know that's surprising, me screwing up in one of these videos. In this context, this 4 would have a 4 written over it, just like this has the 2 written over it, because our main meter, our main feel is set into 3s, groups of 3. So whenever you see an even group, such as 2 or 4 or 8, it's going to have the number written over it so that you know that each of those is going to have that many divided into it. So that should have a little 4 written above it. I screwed that up, just like this. There's a 2 written there, 4 written there. And now you get into these guys, which is a sextuplet, which means 6 beats covering one of those. So it's the equivalent of 16th notes, but in the 3 context, the context of 3, triplet, that same idea, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's telling you that this is the double of that. And that's really all it is. If you take this and then go to the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, then this is the double of that. So then it's ands, or you could count it that way. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3, and 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 that would be that. Okay. So that's also referred to sometimes as 16th note triplets, or sextuplets, or 16th note triplets is how that would be referred to, depending on who you're talking to. They're the same thing. But that's all I wanted to cover in this video, is more notes, more what to expect when you're reading music, how to count them, that kind of thing. There's always going to be a little bit more of this kind of stuff in the beginner music theory stuff, and then we'll kind of be off to the races with some more fun stuff once we get through this. That's all I wanted to cover today. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.